They called it impossible. The 5-hour victory. General Corvo's voice cuts through darkness as footage appears. Human warships moving with terrifying precision. Kidari defenses collapsing. A galactic superpower obliterated in less time than a standard work shift. 1 year ago, humanity showed the galaxy true warfare. They watched us struggle for decades, then ended a war in hours. We celebrated their power. The screen flashes to present day. A massive alien vessel materializes above Earth. Coalition outposts exploding in sequence, emergency sirens blaring, until we discovered what they were really preparing for. 1 year ago today, Thel continued, his voice quavering with barely contained emotion. We witnessed what many thought impossible. The Kidari, who terrorized our systems for decades, neutralized in less time than it takes most species to prepare for battle. General Corvo stood at the chamber's edge, his weathered face betraying nothing as holographic displays showed footage of that day. Human ships moving with impossible precision. Kidari defenses failing like dominoes. The surrender transmission that ended an era. We celebrate peace, Thel declared, yet find ourselves more afraid than ever. Corvo's communicator vibrated. Admiral Merrick's scaled face appeared on the small screen, eyes wide with urgency. It's happening again, Merrick hissed. Outpost, Kappa, total communications blackout, just like the others. Corvo slipped away as the ambassador droned on about cooperation and new galactic order. Outside, he found Commander Eliza Chen waiting, the human officer's posture perfect, expression unreadable. You knew, Corvo accused, not bothering with pleasantries. 12 outposts gone dark in 3 weeks. This isn't random. Chen's dark eyes revealed nothing. The coalition insisted on handling border security alone. Your prerogative, General. Because your kind watches everything from the shadows, Corvo snapped. Planning, calculating, waiting, just like with the Kidari. The corner of Chen's mouth twitched, nearly a smile, and saved countless lives by doing so. Before Corvo could respond, the emergency sirens blared. Across the plaza, the massive situation display flashed red as a new alert appeared. Coalition Defense Station Erebus. Catastrophic failure. All hands presumed lost. 3,000 lives, Corvo whispered, the number burning into his consciousness. Chen was already moving, voice calm as she spoke into her communicator. Implement protocol threshold. Authorization Chen 9997 Omega. What is protocol threshold? Corvo demanded, struggling to match her pace. Chen didn't slow. What you're about to witness, General, is something we've been preparing for since before we encountered the Kidari. Something far worse than your previous war. The human turned, her eyes now alive with an intensity that sent a chill through Corvo's spine. The 5-hour victory? That was just practice. The command center of Arcturus Station hummed with controlled chaos as coalition officers scrambled to process the incoming data. Holographic displays showed Defense Station Erebus, once a marvel of engineering, now reduced to scattered debris. Replay. The final transmission, Corvo ordered, his voice steady despite the knot in his stomach. The central screen flickered. A panicked coalition officer appeared, background alarms blaring. Something's breaching the outer shields. Impossible readings, energy signatures we've never... Static consumed the image before it cut to black. Commander Chen studied the footage with clinical detachment. Freeze at timestamp 0342. The image halted on a blurred shape beyond the station's viewport. Enhance Sector 7. The image sharpened, revealing a metallic form, sleek and angular, unlike any ship in the known galaxy. You recognize it, Corvo stated, watching Chen's expression. Not specifically, she replied. but the design principles match theoretical models we developed for potential extragalactic threats. Admiral Merrick burst into the room, his scales flushed dark with exertion. 3 more outposts just went dark, simultaneous attacks, no distress signals, nothing. Chen's communicator chimed. She listened briefly, then addressed the room. The human expeditionary fleet has been mobilized, ETA to affected sectors, 47 minutes. Without coalition authorization? Merrick hissed. We don't require authorization to defend ourselves, Chen countered, or to assist allies under the Mutual Defense Protocol. Corvo stepped between them. What aren't you telling us, Commander? This isn't just another enemy, is it? Before Chen could answer, a junior officer approached with a data tablet. Sir, we've analyzed debris from Outpost Kappa. There's Qadari technology embedded in the attack residue. Merrick's eyes narrowed. The Qadari are practically extinct after your intervention. Not extinct, Chen corrected. Contained. But this isn't their work, at least not directly. The holographic display shifted to a galactic map, red markers indicating each fallen outpost. Corvo studied the pattern emerging. They're creating a corridor, he realized. A direct path to... His finger traced the projected route to its logical conclusion. Earth. Chen nodded once. Now you understand our urgency. 2 days later, aboard the human flagship Thermopylae, Corvo watched with fascination as the human crew operated with the same uncanny efficiency he'd witnessed during the Qadari conflict. No wasted motion, no unnecessary communication, just precise coordinated action. Captain Nadia Volkov, a stocky woman with steel-gray hair and piercing blue eyes, guided him through the command deck. Your coalition forces are positioning along these vectors, she explained, indicating blue markers on the tactical display. They'll provide support, but remain outside the primary engagement zone. Support? Corvo questioned. The coalition represents 17 species and thousands of warships. Volkov's expression remained neutral. With conventional weapons and tactics, this enemy requires specialized countermeasures. A lieutenant approached with a data pad. Captain, forward scouts report unusual gravitational fluctuations at these coordinates. Volkov studied the information. Maintain distance, observe and report only. What are we dealing with, Captain? Corvo demanded as the lieutenant departed. I've coordinated with your command structure for 12 months, yet suddenly I'm in the dark. Volkov considered him for a moment. Walk with me, General. She led him to a secured chamber deep within the ship. After a retinal scan, the heavy doors slid open to reveal a laboratory filled with equipment Corvo couldn't begin to identify. Scientists moved purposefully between workstations. At the center stood a containment field housing a pulsating metallic object. 3 months ago, a deep space exploration vessel encountered this, Volkov explained. We believe it's a probe, a precursor to what's happening now. Corvo stared at the object. You've been studying it. Yes, and we discovered something disturbing. Volkov activated a display showing microscopic images. These are nanomachines embedded in its structure, self-replicating, adaptive. She paused, and containing fragments of Qadari code. That's impossible, Corvo whispered. Not impossible, deliberately engineered, Volkov corrected. This technology is beyond the Qadari's capabilities. Someone, or something, has weaponized their technology and improved upon it exponentially. An alarm blared. The ship's AI announced, Proximity alert. Unknown vessels detected at coordinates 227.89.435. Volkov was already moving, there earlier than projected. The observation deck provided a panoramic view of space as the human fleet moved into formation. Corvo stood beside Commander Chen, watching as the stars were suddenly eclipsed by the arrival of enemy vessels. dozens of them, emerging from what appeared to be micro-singularities. Dimensional displacement technology, Chen noted. Just as we suspected, the enemy ships were nightmarish amalgamations of organic and mechanical components, writhing and reconfiguring as they advanced. By the void, Corvo breathed. What are they? We call them harvesters, Chen replied. They assimilate technology and biological material from conquered species. The Qadari were just their most recent acquisition. The human fleet didn't hesitate, immediately executing a complex maneuver that positioned their vessels in an asymmetrical pattern. No dramatic posturing, no ultimatums, just the same deadly efficiency, Corvo remembered. The battle erupted with blinding intensity. The enemy vessels moved with unnatural speed, tendrils of energy lashing out at the human ships. But the humans anticipated each attack, countering with precisely calculated responses. Corvo's communicator chirped. Admiral Merrick's voice came through, tense and urgent. Coalition fleet is in position, awaiting orders. Hold position, Corvo instructed, eyes fixed on the unfolding battle. The humans have this well in hand. General, Merrick protested. We can't just— That's an order, Admiral, Corvo interrupted. Observe and prepare to adapt to their tactics. The observation deck shuddered as a harvester vessel broke through the human formation, heading directly toward them. Before Corvo could react, 3 human destroyers converged, unleashing a coordinated barrage that shredded the enemy ship. You're letting them through deliberately, Corvo realized, turning to Chen. You're studying their attack patterns. Chen's expression remained impassive. Every engagement is an opportunity to gather data. A massive explosion lit up space as one of the human cruisers detonated. Not from enemy fire, Corvo noted, but a deliberate self-destruct. Why would they sacrifice a ship of that size? He questioned. Watch, Chen instructed. The explosion's electromagnetic pulse rippled outward, momentarily disabling the nearest harvester vessels. In that brief window, human fighters swarmed the immobilized targets, attaching devices to their hulls before retreating. Viral payload delivery, Chen explained as the devices activated, causing the harvester ships to convulse and then go dark. Targeted countermeasures based on our probe research. Corvo studied Chen's profile. You planned for this exact scenario. We plan for every scenario, General. It's why we survive. The remaining harvesters began to retreat, folding space around themselves as they disappeared into micro-singularities. The human fleet made no attempt to pursue. They're escaping, Corvo noted. No, Chen replied. They're reporting back. This was a reconnaissance force, testing our capabilities, our responses. And what will they report? Chen's lips curved in the ghost of a smile. That we're more formidable than anticipated. It will buy us time. Time for what? To prepare for what comes next. 3 days after the initial engagement, the Coalition Emergency Council convened in Arcturus Station's secure chamber. Representatives from all 17 species sat in tense silence as Captain Volkov presented the tactical analysis. The harvesters have established forward bases in these sectors. She indicated red clusters on the galactic map. Based on their advancement patterns, we project a major offensive within 36 hours. Ambassador Thel rose, his thin frame trembling with barely contained rage. Why weren't we informed of this threat? Humanity clearly knew about these harvesters before they attacked our outposts. We had theories, not confirmation, Commander Chen countered smoothly. Sharing speculative intelligence would have caused unnecessary panic. Unnecessary, Admiral Merrick hissed, slamming his scaled fist on the table. 3,000 dead at Erebus Station alone. Corvo stepped forward. This isn't productive. The question isn't what we knew yesterday, but what we do today. Volkov nodded. We've developed a 3-stage defense protocol. Coalition forces will establish a containment perimeter while human specialized units target the Harvester command nodes. Once their network is destabilized, our combined fleets will... The chamber plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on as the station's AI announced, "Critical security breach, unknown entities detected in central processing." The holographic display distorted, then reformed to show Arcturus Station's schematics. Red indicators spread through the systems like a virus. "They're inside our network," Chen stated, already moving toward the exit. "Captain, execute Dark Shield. Protocol." "Belay that," Corvo commanded. "This is a Coalition station. We follow Coalition protocols." The lights failed completely. In the darkness, Corvo heard the distinctive sound of Chen's sidearm powering up. "With respect, General," her voice was ice cold, "this is no longer a matter of jurisdiction. It's survival." When emergency power restored minimal lighting, Chen was gone. Volkov faced the assembled representatives. "You have exactly 2 minutes to evacuate this station before we implement system purge," she announced. "Any personnel remaining will be considered compromised." "This is an act of war," Thel sputtered. "No, Ambassador," Volkov replied. "This is preventing one." The observation deck of the human command ship Invictus offered a grim view of Arcturus Station. Once the pride of Coalition engineering, it now drifted darkened and lifeless after the emergency shutdown. Corvo stood beside Commander Chen, watching as recovery teams in specialized containment suits searched the station. "You could have warned us," Corvo said quietly. "We did," Chen replied. "For 12 months, we advised upgrading your cybersecurity protocols. The Coalition deemed it unnecessarily costly." A technician approached with a secured container. Inside, suspended in a containment field, floated a microscopic cloud of metallic particles. "Nanoscale infiltrators," Chen explained, "designed to integrate with your systems and create a backdoor for the Harvesters. If we hadn't purged the station, they would have accessed every Coalition defense network." Corvo finished. "How did they get aboard? The better question is, how long have they been there?" Chen's expression darkened. "We believe Arcturus was compromised months ago, dormant until activated." Corvo felt cold dread settle in his stomach. "If Arcturus was compromised?" "Yes," Chen confirmed. "We must assume all Coalition installations are potentially infiltrated. The ship's communication system activated." Captain Volkov's voice was tense. "Commander, priority transmission from Earth Command. Authorization, Omega Black." Chen stiffened. "Acknowledged." Corvo had never seen a human display such obvious alarm. "What is Omega Black?" "Extinction-level threat detection," Chen answered, already moving toward the command deck. "They're not testing us anymore, General. The main invasion has begun." Earth Defense Command was a hive of controlled chaos when Corvo arrived with the human delegation. Massive holographic displays showed real-time battle data from across the galaxy. The situation was catastrophic. Dozens of systems under simultaneous attack, Coalition and human forces alike, struggling against an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. Fleet Admiral Helena Reyes, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, acknowledged them with a curt nod. Her weathered face showed no emotion, but her eyes burned with intensity. "The Harvesters have deployed their primary weapon," she announced without preamble. "A network of space-time disruptors that's preventing our ships from coordinating effectively." The central display showed Coalition ships scattered and isolated, easy prey for the swarming Harvester vessels. "Our longest-range telepathic species can't maintain contact beyond a few light minutes," Corvo reported. "We're fighting blind, fragmented." Reyes nodded. "As they intended. This is why we developed the Nexus Protocol." At her command, a new schematic appeared, a complex device unlike anything Corvo had seen before. "What am I looking at?" he asked. "Our counter to their isolation strategy," Reyes explained. "A quantum entanglement network that operates outside normal space-time, immune to their disruptors." "And you're only revealing this now?" Corvo demanded. "We needed to confirm the nature of their attack before deploying it," Chen interjected. "The Nexus has significant drawbacks." Reyes's expression hardened. "It requires direct neural interface with the operators. The cognitive load is extreme. Many won't survive the connection." Corvo stared in disbelief. "You're talking about sacrificing your own people." "Volunteers only," Reyes clarified. "But yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about." Before Corvo could respond, the station rocked violently. Alarms blared as a technician shouted, "Breach in." "Sector 7, Harvester forces have penetrated Earth's outer defense ring." The tactical display updated to show a massive Harvester vessel, far larger than any previously encountered, approaching Earth's orbit. "Mother of stars," Corvo whispered. "That's not a ship, it's a world breaker." Reyes turned to Chen. "Commander, prepare the Nexus team. You know what to do." Chen saluted sharply, then faced Corvo. "General, we need coalition approval to deploy the Nexus within your territories. Without it, we can protect Earth, but not your homeworlds." Corvo found himself at the pivot point of galactic history. The humans had prepared for this moment, had known something like this was coming, yet had kept the coalition partially in the dark. Now they offered salvation at terrible cost. "The Coalition Council would need days to debate this," he said finally. "We have minutes." Chen waited, her expression betraying nothing. Making his decision, Corvo activated his emergency authority, transponder. "This is General Corvo authorizing Emergency Protocol Zenith. All Coalition forces are hereby placed under joint command with Earth Defense." He met Chen's gaze steadily. "Deploy your Nexus, Commander. Whatever it takes to stop them." Chen nodded once. "It won't be in vain, General." As she departed, Corvo turned back to the tactical display. The Harvester Worldbreaker loomed ever closer to Earth, its surface writhing with malevolent purpose. The final confrontation had begun. The Nexus chamber was bathed in cold blue light. 7 human operators lay in neural interface cradles, their bodies rigid as medical technicians attached countless sensors to their temples and spines. Above each cradle hovered a holographic display showing vital signs, already erratic before the system was even activated. Corvo stood beside Admiral Reyes, watching the preparations with mounting unease. "These volunteers," he began hesitantly, "they understand what will happen to them?" "Better than anyone could," Reyes replied. "Each has undergone partial neural linking during training. They've experienced a fraction of what awaits them, and still they volunteered. Without hesitation." Reyes's expression softened slightly. "Humanity has always produced individuals willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. It's not unique to our species, but perhaps we've perfected the art of finding them." The chamber's main door slid open as Commander Chen entered. She had changed into a form-fitting neural interface suit, her movements precise despite obvious fatigue. "Commander?" Corvo questioned, sudden understanding dawning. "You're one of the Nexus operators?" Chen nodded. "As the system architect, I have the highest compatibility rating." "Compatibility doesn't guarantee survival," Reyes warned. "With respect, Admiral, survival was never the objective. Success was." Chen moved toward the central cradle, the primary node position. "The Harvester Worldbreaker will be in optimal range in 18 minutes. We need to be fully synchronized before then." As Chen settled into the cradle, Reyes guided Corvo from the chamber. "You'll want to observe from the command center. What happens next isn't pleasant to witness up close." In Earth Defense Command's Strategic Operations Center, Corvo watched the unfolding battle with a mixture of awe and horror. The massive holographic display showed hundreds of Coalition and human vessels fighting desperately against the Harvester swarms. Without coordinated communications, they were being systematically isolated and destroyed. Nexus initialization commencing, announced the system AI. On a secondary display, Corvo saw the 7 human operators convulse as the neural interface activated fully. Chen's vitals spiked dangerously, then stabilized at a level that would be fatal under normal circumstances. Her consciousness was no longer bound by her physical form. It was expanding through the quantum network. Nexus Online, the AI confirmed, establishing connection with all compatible vessels. Across the tactical display, scattered Coalition and human ships suddenly began moving with renewed purpose, forming complex formations that made no sense to Corvo's trained eye, until he saw the results. Harvester vessels, previously unstoppable, now found themselves caught in overlapping fields of fire, precise strikes targeting vulnerabilities that shifted by the second. It wasn't just coordination. It was perfect battlefield omniscience. "They can see everything," Corvo whispered. "Process it all simultaneously." "That's the power of the Nexus," Reyes confirmed. 7 minds distributed across thousands of ships, directing each as if it were an extension of their own body. The cost of this advantage was displayed on the medical monitors. 2 of the operators had already flatlined, their neural patterns disintegrating under the strain. Yet the Nexus adapted, redistributing the load among the survivors. Chen's vital signs were weakening rapidly, but her neural activity burned brighter than ever. "The Worldbreaker has entered Earth's gravitational influence," reported a tactical officer. "Defensive countermeasures ineffective. It's deploying something." The massive Harvester vessel's surface rippled as thousands of smaller craft emerged, forming a protective swarm around the main body. Simultaneously, tendrils of energy extended toward Earth's atmosphere. "They're initiating planetary assimilation," Reyes realized. "If those tendrils establish a foothold," "Nexus priority shift acknowledged," interrupted the AI, all assets redirecting to primary threat. On the display, every available human and Coalition vessel abruptly changed course, forming a massive multi-layered attack formation centered on the Worldbreaker. It was a desperate gambit, leaving other sectors vulnerable to concentrate overwhelming force on the primary threat. "What are they doing?" Corvo asked as the combined fleet accelerated toward certain death against the Worldbreaker's defenses. Reyes's expression was grim. "What humanity has always done best, General. Finding the enemy's breaking point and hitting it with everything we have." The fleet engaged the Worldbreaker in a blinding fury of weapons fire. Ships exploded by the dozens as the Harvester defenses responded, but the formation never faltered. Each loss was instantly compensated for, the remaining vessels adjusting with perfect precision. "Nexus Operator 3 has flatlined," announced the medical officer. 4 and 6 critical. Despite the losses, the attack continued with unwavering coordination. Then Corvo spotted something unusual, a small group of specialized vessels breaking through the chaos, heading directly for the Worldbreaker's central mass. "The Spearhead Unit," Reyes explained. "Special delivery." The vessels disappeared inside the Worldbreaker's organic shell. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, multiple explosions bloomed from within the massive construct. "Antimatter charges," Reyes continued, "designed to disrupt their central neural network." The Worldbreaker convulsed, its protective swarm suddenly directionless. The combined fleet pressed the advantage, focusing fire on the newly exposed vulnerabilities with surgical precision. "It's working," Corvo breathed. A sudden alarm cut through the moment of hope. On the medical monitors, Chen's vital signs cascaded toward total failure. "Nexus cohesion destabilizing," warned the AI, "primary node critical." The tactical display showed the coordinated attack beginning to fragment as the Nexus weakened. The world breaker, though damaged, was already beginning to regenerate. "We're losing them," Reyes murmured. "Without the Nexus—" "Wait," Corvo interrupted, pointing to a new development on the display. A coalition battle group had broken formation, accelerating toward the world breaker's still regenerating core. At their center was the Thermopylae, Captain Volkov's vessel. "They're not connected to the Nexus," Reyes realized. "Volkov is acting independently." The battle group carved a path through the confused harvester swarm, sustaining heavy damage but never deviating from their course. As they reached the world breaker's wounded core, the Thermopylae transmitted a simple message to all channels. "For Earth, for the Coalition, remember us." The Thermopylae and its escorts detonated their drive cores simultaneously, the combined explosion tearing through the world breaker's regenerating systems. The chain reaction spread rapidly through the massive construct, overwhelming its ability to adapt. In that moment, Chen's vital signs stabilized briefly. On the command channel, her voice emerged, weak but clear. "Target their dimensional anchors. Finish it. Now." The remaining fleet responded instantly, concentrating fire on specific points Corvo couldn't distinguish. As each point was destroyed, the world breaker's structure began to collapse in on itself. "They're forcing it into dimensional instability," Reyes explained, wonder in her voice. Chen found their weakness. With a final silent flash, the world breaker imploded, the space it occupied twisting grotesquely before snapping back to normal. Where the massive threat had loomed seconds before, only scattered debris remained. Throughout the system, the remaining harvester vessels began to fail, their controlling intelligence severed. In the Nexus chamber, Chen and the last surviving operator flatlined simultaneously. The Coalition Memorial Hall stood silent as General Corvo placed 7 stars, one for each Nexus operator, upon the eternal flame. Representatives from all 17 species bowed their heads in respect. 1 year ago, Corvo addressed the assembly, humanity showed us how to end a war in 5 hours. Yesterday, they showed us something greater, how to save a galaxy, whatever the cost. Admiral Reyes stood nearby, her uniform bearing the black band of mourning. Behind them, a holographic display showed the faces of those lost. Commander Chen, centered among them. "We asked why humans watched from the shadows during the Kidari conflict," Corvo continued. "Now we understand. They weren't watching, they were preparing, calculating every possibility, including their own sacrifice." As the ceremony concluded, Reyes approached Corvo with a data tablet. "Long-range sensors detected unusual activity beyond the galactic rim," she said quietly. "This may not be over." Corvo studied the readings, then met her gaze. "Will humanity stand with us again?" Reyes's expression remained stoic, but her eyes held the same resolute determination he'd seen in Chen. "General," she replied, "we never left." The stars stretched endlessly before them, harboring both promise and threat. But for the first time, the galaxy faced its future truly united, with humanity's calculating brilliance and ultimate sacrifice etched into its collective memory. Victory had taken 5 hours. Survival had taken everything, but it would not be forgotten.